Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PSG of Mercer County. And happy Aloha Friday. So glad that you were able to join us today for PSG of Mercer County. PSG of Mercer County is a group that is here for you, anybody that is in a career transition. And so it doesn't matter why you are in a career transition at the moment. It could be something had occurred in your former office place where they had some kind of reorganization. Many people, unfortunately, were affected by the pandemic and COVID, at least from an employment perspective. And so companies had to take drastic measures on their side. And, that's become part of our normal. So you can explain that in an interview. So that's happened. And so, or other people have decided maybe they need to take their career in their own hands, and it's time to make their own decision and move on. And it was just, it's the right thing to do. So it doesn't matter to us why and what caused your transition. We're just happy that you indeed are going to be able to get some assistance from us. So among the resources that we do offer are our LinkedIn group. We do have a LinkedIn group called PSG of Mercer County, so please look for it. It is not a hidden group, but you do have to search for it in the groups section of LinkedIn. And it is a little bit of a private group in that we don't automatically accept you in the group. What you do is you click the join group button and you'll be putting in pending status. And then about once a week, what happens is we do check all the people or check for people who have requested. And then we check our attendance, and we only allow into our LinkedIn group people that have attended our in-person meeting or our now virtual meetings. And we only want people who've attended at least once as a member of our group, because what we're trying to keep out are the list collectors and the name collectors, or people that are just joining groups for only their own benefit. And so if for some reason I cannot validate through our mailing list that you have attended, I'll send a LinkedIn in-mail to you if you are a requester, and it'll just help me make sure that you are indeed in our group. We have over 1,670 members. These are all people that have been or are job seekers, or in some cases, they're some of our presenters or other people that are very helpful to job seekers. And we encourage you, contribute in our group. There's a place to put postings. You can share articles, job leads, any information. At the very least, every once in a while, read some of the posts and click a like button, or maybe even make a comment like, thanks for sharing, because LinkedIn likes activity, likes when you're active. So you can at least be active with our group in very simple ways. And we all get job leads that may not be appropriate to us. We get those job leads from recruiters that are just, kind of almost spamming us. And it may be a nice job lead, you get an email, but it's not really at all what you do. Copy that text, paste it into a post in our group, and then make it available to others to see. And it'll help others, and it'll help you and your profile as well. So another thing a group will give you access to is easy access to in-mail people, even though they're not yet your first degree connection. So you may have up to 1,670 new connections that you can connect with via LinkedIn in-mail, so you can write them for any sort of guidance and assistance that you may not have easily been able to do, certainly with free LinkedIn. So consider our LinkedIn group. We do have our website. It is psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. It's over 120 pages of web content, so it is more than just the landing page and event calendar. We have a lot of resource information that's there. Matter of fact, we have a resources tab that has 43 different icons and links. There are 15 networking groups that are listed there. So if you've heard of a networking group kind of in our area, you can click on that and you may be able to get one that's pretty close. There are 26 additional career resources, including career coaches and mostly the career coaches that visit our group here as well, but others. And then we certainly recognize that, there are certain aspects of COVID and the pandemic and the virtual world that has been a little bit stressful on people. So we have a personal wellness link and a mental health link as well. So you may be interested in some information there. So we're really very sensitive as much as possible to the needs of all our members. So go take a look at our website. And if you want, go take a look at our resources page. I think you'll find a lot of useful information for you as a job seeker. In just a moment, I will be turning over the meeting to Ken. And Ken, in a moment, you will need to share your screen again. And Ken and Rachel together, but Ken will be kicking this off. And they are our presenters today. I'll introduce them in a moment. I do ask you, please keep yourselves on mute during the presentation, unless we call on you during the question and answer portion. I'll be monitoring the chat to see if anyone has a question as the program goes on. So we ask that you use chat in one of two ways. Now again, chat on the GoToMeeting app is in the upper right corner. There's an icon. It looks like a circle with a little tab on the bottom right. It's the call out icon. And so that's for communicating. And enter a message. And you'll have an option at the bottom who to send it to. Send it to everyone. This way everyone can see your question. It also makes sure that if you send it just to Ken or just to Rachel and they're busy presenting, they may not be able to track your question. If you send it just to me, Rachel and Ken won't see it. So send your question to everyone. And so what you do is you type the word question, and if that's all you do, that's the digital equivalent of raising your hand. And then as soon as there's a break opportunity, either Ken or Rachel may say, oh, are there any questions? In which case, if you write the word question, we will call on you to unmute and you can ask your question. Or you can type the word question with the text of your question. And at that time, I'll just read the question out loud. And then that way, either Rachel or Ken will be able to answer your question. So, but it is important. It does help me get to your question and see your question if you write the word question in front. And so we already have one question, and the question is, will the slides be available? And I am told that they will be. They were, both Rachel and Ken were tweaking them as of late yesterday, so I will get those later, and as soon as I get slides from them, I will post that on our website. And Ken and Rachel, if you let me know otherwise, you changed your mind, then that's fine, but that's our expectation. And this is being recorded as well, so the video will be available, if not by this afternoon, by tomorrow. So I think we're all good to go. And I'm just very pleased to welcome our speakers this morning, Rachel Simon and Ken Lang. Rachel Simon is the CEO and founder of Connect the Dots Digital. She guides professionals on using the power of LinkedIn to build meaningful relationships, develop thought leadership, and to use its features to achieve real business goals. She has worked with a wide variety of clients, including healthcare startups, advertising agencies, and large corporate travel companies. As founder of KML Consultants, Ken Lang offers best practices for using LinkedIn as part of your networking strategy. His most recent project is My Networking Central, a searchable database for individuals, networking group leaders, and speakers. Ken also facilitates a weekly LinkedIn Lunch and Learn event on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. and cannot wait to meet all of you in person soon. So PSG of Mercer County is very pleased to welcome Rachel Simon and Ken Lang.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Good morning, everyone, too. I think just a little bit of background, Rachel is actually in Atlanta right now. So it's a really great privilege. And Rachel and I was actually thinking back how long ago we met. We actually met through the Brenda Miller's Rockstar list. And we've just been in touch for the most part the last few months or so on Clubhouse. For those of you that are not on Clubhouse, like to go on there, we have a room every Thursday that we talk about this. And I thought it would make a lot of sense to actually go through a presentation of the things that we do. So I'm going to share my screen, and if anyone has any questions along the way, definitely let me know or monitor the chat. So without further ado, screen getting okay. So let me know when everyone can see the screen.
Okay, we see your Google Slides. So you'll want to start that there. Let's see, it's loading up.
Okay,
there it is.
Perfect.
Okay, so bots, fake profiles, and automation. Now, for those fake profiles, I think are pretty much understood as to what they are, and they're not real people. I think we have some examples later on. Bots are the type of connection requests, the type of sales pitches that you can tell are not generated from a person. You may get the same request multiple times. We all have different examples in here as to the types of things that we've come across, and maybe you have too. And automation, it's the sense that people are just, or shouldn't say people, bots and companies are just sending out automation, throwing out lots of connection requests, a lot of things to hope, with the hope that people actually will respond. So so these are just some bad requests, and Rachel and I put these together based on our experience. The first one is one of those generic hi. I found your profile on LinkedIn, impressed. It really has nothing to relevant, but the funny part is this. It says reply to Annie, and Annie is not a real person. So that's one which, and I always use that as a main example. The other one is the hey, Kenneth, you around?
I love that one. That's hilarious.
I've gotten a few of those, and I actually responded back, no. You know, one of the things that we've all tried is when you get these types of connection requests and automation, how do you respond? And we'll talk about some of the ways to do it. I know that one person, Brenda Miller, and others say they just reply back with the word test to see what happens after that. And if it's the same response after that, they may try test 1 or test 2. Once in a blue moon, if you reply back with test, you may get a real person on the other end. The third one is the one that I'm probably is the most blatant automation. It's a cut and paste. It's hi. They plugged my first name in. My name is so and so. I noticed they plugged in my job title in as well, and then they put at the end of that what their message is. The funny thing about this one here is that there's a version that I have where instead of saying hi Kenneth, it says hi first name, and it leaves blank what the specific job title is. So I think, you know, we kind of like to poke fun at these, but for the most part, it's a really big problem. So
And go back to that one real quick, because I think what is great about the third example is that it's so obvious, because nobody would ever write a message like that. Nobody would ever say, hi, I'm Conrad, and I noticed and they popped in your whole headline, I think, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah, so it's such a like awkward, weird message that there's no way a real human person wrote that. They're just pulling, you know, different pieces from LinkedIn, scraping that data, and that's where replying with test is always really fun, because when I've gotten those in the past, I reply test, and then the next one is like, thanks for connecting, and it's the whole next like garbage, you know, sales pitch. So clearly it's just like you respond with anything and you're going to get the next message in their cadence. So that's one to play with for sure.
I mean, to look at the question, the way I would explain a bot is, if you think about a recruiter sending out a jobs request to thousands of people with the hopes that one person may respond, that's kind of what bots might be doing on the other end. They don't care about the number that don't respond. They just hope that one person does. And I think recognizing what they are will definitely help you from a networking standpoint. So Rachel, can I go to the next slide?
Yep.
Okay, so these are some more requests. And the funny thing about the one on the side there, they're LinkedIn member, and I'll show you in a little while why they're LinkedIn members, because I actually blocked them and reported them. But again, it's a conversation about, do I want to be a shareholder in this wireless earbuds company? And, you know, I don't think so. I think I'll take a pass on that Indigo fundraising site. But it's funny to see these, to really understand exactly what people are thinking when they do this. And then the other side, quick question. I looked into your work and I thought I'd reach out to ask a quick question. Well, is your company growing at its fullest potential, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? If you want to grow your business, how about an intro start? Thank you, Tracy. And you know what? Maybe I'm a bit jaded now, because I've been on the platform a while as well with Rachel, but you know, my wish list for LinkedIn is to have a separate place where these messages would go, like a spam message thing. But I'd wonder, Rachel, how many of these do you get in terms of sales?
Yeah.
And
I don't get as many as you do, like these kind of messages. I've gotten a couple. I remember I got one that was like inviting me to invest in something in Africa. Maybe in the last 6 months I got that, but I don't get those as much. And we've talked about this in our clubhouse room that the frequency of really bad ones has decreased lately. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is, again, one of the recent LinkedIn updates allows you to shift your, it changes your default button from connect to follow. And I think that's helped decrease the frequency of getting a really bad connection request. And also LinkedIn is cracking down on these because one thing we haven't mentioned yet is that these automation tools are generally third-party platforms where they're accessing LinkedIn through sort of like another way, and it goes against the LinkedIn terms of service. And so people are starting to get their accounts restricted if they're utilizing these tools. And these companies kind of come and go. I don't know. I kind of try to track them because I'm fascinated by it. And some of them are gone, they've disappeared. And one of the common things you'll see if you ever come across their websites is that you can never find real people that work with them. Like you would never be able to see the CEO is this person. They do not share who actually works for the companies. It's very sketchy.
for sure. And I think, you know, one of the things along those lines too, with LinkedIn limiting the number of connection requests that can be sent out, you're going to get more and more of these messages for sure. So these are other ones. And the funny thing about the one on the left side is my name's not Deborah, which is an example of something which does happen. And I actually, because this person had a phone, I actually called this person up and I was just curious. And sometimes when they don't realize what they're doing and there's an education aspect. And then the one on the other side is another general one, but what I liked about this is has a disclaimer. If you have received this message in error or simply don't want to connect, ignore the invitation. And it was an invitation. And I'm like, really? This is the latest thing. It's the closest thing to an opt-out. And I don't know what your experience is with this, but I think it's kind of interesting to see, Rachel, what everyone's changing to now.
Yeah, well, I think they don't want you to report them. They don't want you to mark. So if you're familiar where if you decline a connection request, it asks you, do you know this person? Like you can choose, I don't know this person. And if somebody is getting multiple reports that I don't know this person, then they will get some form of restriction from LinkedIn. So I think my guess would be this is a way that to try to be like, please don't click, I don't know this person, ignore and move on. I tend to not do that. I tend to just ignore and move on unless it's like an egregious one. And then I'll click, I don't know this person. I think the next one, yeah. Okay, so these are some of my examples. So here's the funny story about these two. So I received the top one and I was like, that's a kind of a weird message because, you know, that's good for you. I don't really, like it's very much about the sender. But I think I like left it in my inbox. I didn't respond to it. I sometimes do that where I'll keep things for a while. And then about 3 months later, I got the second one. And I was like, God, that looks so familiar. And it's the exact same wording. And what this tells me is that whatever company these two people are using, they're just regurgitating the same messaging to all their clients. And so the other thing that is important to kind of think about with these businesses is that they're expensive and people are spending a lot of money to be spamming potential, LinkedIn connections. And I don't know if they know that they're basically like regurgitating templates. But if I was spending my money on that, now I wouldn't, and I wouldn't recommend anybody does it. But if you're outsourcing anything to a third party to help your business and you realize that you're not getting anything personalized to you, that's pretty much a waste of money. So I just thought those two were great. And I like to collect all of these and put a blog. I always put a blog post together of like the worst connection requests of the year. Went into the 2020 blog.
Definitely, and that's.
Yeah. Plus, in general, that's just a bad message because it's like all about them and not about the person receiving it.
These are a couple more of yours.
What's that?
I said these are a couple more of yours here.
Yes. So again, these two came one right after the other from the same company. And again, it just looks terrible. Exact same wording, the exact same company. And I actually messaged one of the people and said, I just got the exact same message from your colleague. Are you coordinating your outreach efforts? And I did not get a response back. But again, it's a very, it's a very unique message. I mean, peeking over the digital hedge. So to get two of them and then to get them two right back, like one after the other, not cool, not great. So, and then these are just a couple pitchy things that I've gotten over the last, couple of months. So I would not like to schedule a quick call. Thank you very much. I really don't care about your pay-per-lead system, and I am not interested in offshore resources. So these are generally good examples if you get stuff like this that it's not a real person. It might be. I mean, I guess in theory, somebody could just be copying and pasting the message over and over again.
I think the thing is that you and I, Rachel, and others get a lot of the similar ones, one after the other, and it just becomes, on top of everything else, such a time drain to have them, fill up your inbox and your connection request in place of all the people we want to connect with, we want to have relationships with.
Right. And I think I have maybe one more example on the next one.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, okay. And then these are another ones that I like to share. So the first one is saying, oh, I see, I love connecting with the people in the e-commerce world. I don't have e-commerce anywhere in my LinkedIn profile at all. So how I got pulled into that search, I have absolutely no idea. I definitely, think that it's, again, they're pulling in these like random searches, they're just popping in your title, and they don't really care that it is not relevant to you. But the bottom is, I think, my all-time favorite connection request. And one other little piece on here, which I started doing this year, is on LinkedIn, before my first name, I have a little tilde. And the reason why I added that is specifically so I can see if it's an automation tool. So if I get any message that has the little tilde before Rachel, I know it's not a real person. I know they're using a third-party tool because nobody would write that if they were typing my name in themselves. So I am not a part of a paving company. And it is a major head scratcher as to how on earth that association was made. But I don't know. That is like a mystery to me. I don't get it.
I think, sometimes it's interesting to find out how people make these decisions. Is it being sent out to everyone and anyone? And that goes back to the total waste of time and energy, because to do that, for sure. Yeah. So these are some fake accounts, and we're going to show you later on some more. Rachel had a couple here, and why are they considered fake?
Well, so again, this is, I got this connection request, the one on the left, from Sherry Rogers, and again, I could tell right away that was an automation tool, and it just, her profile was really sketchy to me. So generally, if I look at someone's profile and it's incomplete or just doesn't feel, it feels like not, something feels off. So I did a Google image search, and we have a slide that shows you what that means in a, I think on the next one.
Because if you look over here, it's the same image, but different people.
Different people, but the same company.
Right.
Not really calling it a company. And so
So this is how you would do a reverse search on an image. If you do a right click on the picture and you can do a search Google for image, you will find out, as I have and everyone else has, that a lot of times it's the same picture on multiple profiles, or it's been taken off the internet from someone else.
Yeah, and a lot of times I've noticed they pull images from like websites in Eastern Europe, or you know, in like, I saw one, I think that woman, her picture I think was from Portugal, and so, you know, they're just grabbing these random photos. I had a really weird experience about 2 years ago. I wrote a article about it, where somebody reached out to me on LinkedIn through a message, interested in my services, and this was pretty new in my business, so I was like jumping at, you know, anybody who wanted to talk to me. And we had set up a time to talk, and I was like trying to get information from this person about his company. I was like, can you send me a link to your website? Like, I wanted to do my research on my end. And he was being really evasive in LinkedIn messaging, and his profile just felt off. So I did a Google image search of him, and he was using a photo of a professor from like some college in Maryland. And it was like, I think my first real experience with a fake account. I did try to reach out to the real person to let them know. And I've done that in the past, where I find the actual real person who they're using their photo and try to let them know, hey, somebody's using your picture. And obviously I canceled the meeting and I wrote an article about it. But Alex asked a question about it, why don't we ignore it? And I think it's because it's important to report these accounts. And I think
and
that's
also keep in mind, when the number is thrown around about the number of users on LinkedIn and like, that's all accounts, that's usernames. So it's not all, they're not all real accounts when you look at the number. And we do show, I think on another slide, how you can actually ignore and report people. But we want this to be a community, a relevant community. And maybe, you know, we're Don Quixotes here about this, but just based on the traffic that's out there. Did you want to say something, Alex?
There's also another question from Mike.
Yep.
And he's got a broad question. Should LinkedIn be used for sales, even targeted ones? Of late, I took it as a sign my brand awareness is growing as I get more targeted sales pitches. Mine are generally targeted at least to cyber, which is his expertise. Generally, I ignore these. So should LinkedIn be used for sales?
Yes, but the right way. I mean, again, you have to start by building a relationship with someone. It's not about throwing the sales right away or on the follow-up connection request. I mean, building relationships, getting business isn't always easy and takes time. And a lot of the people out there, or bots, don't want to spend the time. I don't know if you have a similar opinion, Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's some amazing people who do an incredible job of sales using LinkedIn, but they will all tell you that it is a process. It is relationship building. It's the same as like, and we liken it to those, you know, pitchy connection request would be the equivalent of coming to like a meeting, a networking meeting, and saying, hi, I'm Rachel. Would you like to buy my LinkedIn services? Like, you don't know who I am. You just met me. That's not the way you would speak and engage with people in the real world. And so why would you do that on LinkedIn? You know, you connect with somebody, you start engaging with their content, you maybe send them a DM just like to get to know them. And ideally, the goal is to eventually just get to a conversation off LinkedIn. And that's what most, I think, LinkedIn sales professionals will attest to, is that the goal isn't to sell on LinkedIn, it's to utilize LinkedIn to build those relationships and eventually get somebody offline to talk to you.
And this is where automation can come in handy. You know, you can use automation to think about the people you want to reach out to and kind of build a database or something. But it's one thing to build and then decide how you're going to use it. It's another thing to build it just to throw out lots and lots of connection requests or just messages, you know, and that takes some time. But again, there's a nuance to it. You know, like when I talk about things on LinkedIn, I'm not looking to sell my business, and Rachel, most of us aren't either, because it's by reputation and by our background. So can I go to the next slide, Rachel?
Can I jump in for a second?
Sure,
You asked me
Alex.
if I have a comment.
Yeah.
40 years ago, I took a course about how to find a job. Coincidentally, that course was given in Morristown, New Jersey, while I lived in New Hampshire. But anyhow, I remember the instructor said, receiving rejections letters is a good thing. And I'm looking at what do you mean is a good thing? He said, what's worse than receiving a rejection letter? Worse is if they don't reply you at all. If you get a rejection letter, at least you have one more opportunity to get back to them and make an attempt to influence them or convince them that in worst case scenario, nothing will happen. And that is the reason I asked the question. I think the biggest punishment is just ignore it and move on. Don't give them a chance to connect with you and establish some sort of communication with you. That was my point.
No, I agree. I think, though, that the issue part of it is, I'm sorry, Rachel, go ahead.
Oh, they were saying the same thing. I would definitely never connect with them, for sure.
You know, look at it this way. You get all these calls, you have a do not call list, supposedly it's supposed to work, but we still get a lot of calls and junk mail. This is kind of the world we live in, and we need to make it as clean as possible. I mean, I have about 200 connection requests I have ignored because I know they're spam. And I'm not going to take the time. I mean, I could delete them if I want to, but sometimes I leave them around just to do a presentation like this.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that we, you know, the reason why we talk about this every single week on Clubhouse and do sessions like this is that there are people that don't know, they don't recognize, they don't, you know, maybe they're not using LinkedIn as much as we are. And they are unaware of things like fake accounts and that these companies even exist. And honestly, until maybe 5 years ago, I was one of those people. I really didn't know about these automation tools and why they were bad and why it was problematic, and you know, developed a strategy on using LinkedIn in the most authentic and relatable way possible. So I think that, you know, we should definitely need to recognize that these exist. LinkedIn does, what's amazing is they put out stats every quarter. Is it quarterly? Or maybe twice a year, about how many fake accounts they actually intercept before they even get to, you know, live. And it's crazy, the number. It's like, I might have to find that report. Kevin Turner had posted it a while ago.
Right.
Thinking
well, this
about,
is how you can, and then this is how you can actually report people. If you do that, there's a more button, and then underneath the drop down, there's a report and block option. And I've done that in some very severe cases. So if you do select the report and block, then you'll have an option after that to determine or tell LinkedIn why. And then the recommendation is to use the second option since it's not a real person. I have actually blocked people who have sent me inappropriate things. That's not the rule. That's not what I choose to do that much. But again, this is all extra work. I mean, I think if a person's reported, 4 or 5 times or something, they get put in LinkedIn jail or something. And that's one of the reasons we report the profiles, is because we want to take the people off the platform. Does that statistic sound right, Rachel?
It's 5, but it's within a certain number of days. So that's
Okay.
that's the challenge, is that I think it's within like a week. So if, you know, it's hard to get rid of them. These accounts come and they disappear. Like I tried to find that woman, that Judith Hung or Sherry, whatever Rogers, and she's not there anymore. So they come and go. I think they get again, I already brought him up once. I feel like I bring up Kevin Turner every single time I talk about LinkedIn. And if y'all are not following him, he is amazing. He calls fake accounts the equivalent of a burner phone for LinkedIn, because, you know, they come and go, they disappear. You can't track them. And you just kind of have to move on, and a new one comes up. It's like you get rid of one, it's like whack-a-mole. You get rid of one.
Exactly. And I actually used a whack-a-mole image with one of my posts about that, because it's the best way, it's a great way to describe it.
Yes, but I always encourage reporting them, because we got to do something, even though it does take time. It's an action at least we can take.
So this is an example of why fake, and thank you, Rachel, for finding this. There's all these services that allow you, or will purchase, you can buy LinkedIn accounts and do things with them. They exist all over. Again, I don't know how they work specifically, and I don't want to know how they, but the fact that you know they exist. LinkedIn, it's kind of like a mixed message. On the one hand, they want you to engage and they want you to network, and sometimes they do look the other way with people doing it, because it's an opportunity for them, for the platform, to seem more relevant. And I think one of the things is, I would say, I wonder what LinkedIn wants to do when it grows up, because I don't think it always knows.
Yeah, the thing that this is, I can't remember who found this. I think it was in Andy Foot's group on Facebook. Someone shared this screenshot, but like the ickiest part is it's offering mostly girl accounts. Like, it's just gross. And I mean, it actually is like jaw dropping to me that this is something that exists and people will pay money for it, but it does. And we just need to do everything we can to combat stuff like this on LinkedIn, because it just does ruin it for real people. I mean, we want to build connections and relationships with people who we want to know from, you know, and the beauty of LinkedIn is you can meet and get to know people from all over the world, but we want to be real, those people to be real people.
Right, for sure. So what I wanted to do next, first of all, this is our contact information. If it's okay, I wanted to share, Rachel actually sent me a link to a bunch of fake profiles. So what I wanted to do, if that's okay, is pull that up. And so if you can, now I'm going to just, if you scroll down here, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, we see it.
So if you scroll down here, LinkedIn member, LinkedIn member, LinkedIn member, clicked in real estate, and etc. LinkedIn member, LinkedIn member. And they're all different profiles, with differences maybe being the picture or something else. So if you call one of them up, it says I don't have access to the profile, which probably is a good thing, because I don't know that I want to see them.
Is there one that has a name? Because like that way you could pull up the profile.
Well, that's what I'm going to do now. This is, all right, so if I go back to the beginning, Jason Williams now, why is Jason Williams, and I'm just going to call him, what makes it a fake profile?
That may not be. I'm not sure. When I was looking at that list, a couple of the clicked in who have that same exact title had a name, and I was able to click on it. So I wonder if you go a little bit further into the, like onto page 3 or something. But it is like a trove of fake profiles, because they all, oh, there you go. Like they all have.
All right, so these are third connections. So here's one here. If you look at this list, it's all the same thing, all the same message.
I would imagine that there's same. I tried to find to see if a couple people had.
So there's one right there, 48 connections. that same image that was on before, that clicked in real leads, real results. Clicked in is all that. Very basic, very not much going on. And I'm willing to bet if I go back to someone else, it might be the same thing. Again, same thing. Now, normally you would think, and there's nothing wrong with putting a company or something behind the banner, but something like this is just so obvious. And
the long about section, look at that.
yeah, I mean,
and one of the challenges is that, LinkedIn is built on the honor system. So there's nothing where, I could put on my profile, I went to Harvard. Now, I didn't go to Harvard. But Harvard doesn't have to approve that on my profile. And so people can put whatever they want on there, and there's no way to, know that that's for real. So that's why a lot of those profiles, like the first person that Ken pulled up said they went to Michigan State. I'm sure they didn't go to Michigan State.
I just wanted to break out to the group now, so just because we're not fake, we're real. But this was what we wanted to do is use this as an opportunity to start more of a conversation. I mean, as to what your experiences are. I mean, the same thing could be, you may get a recruiting thing as well. I think the big issue is, and this is, most of these come from something called Sales Navigator, which if it's done right, it can make sense, but a lot of the tools that are out there are abused. And unfortunately, there are a couple of people I know that have actually showed me how they are able to go through all the LinkedIn profiles with the LinkedIn email addresses and create their own database, even though if you download the connections, you can't do that. They actually showed me a tool that they developed, and it's very scary what's out there.
Is Joey on the call, Himmelfarb? Because he's joined this before, right?
I don't see Joey on the call.
Joey's here. He joins sometimes.
So one time Joey joined our Clubhouse room. That's how I met him, and told us a story about fake profiles that were specifically targeting job seekers for not good reasons, for really identity theft purposes. Do you remember that story, Ken?
I do. I think, and that, I think that brings up a whole other thing. I mean, you have to be very careful about your settings. In the very beginning, when you get these requests, whether it's connection requests or sales pitches or job pitches, it's hard to know the difference. And I've actually done a little bit of a pivot. I almost now would rather have a non-personalized connection request from some people and just reply back, because so many of the connection requests I get are just cut and paste of templates that people have used without even giving any thought to updating or revising a template. I mean, you can have a template for a connection request, but you want to change it up a little bit. You don't want to just do a cut and paste, changing a word or a title. So, that brings up an open question to the group in terms of connection requests. I mean, what is your thought, dealing with bots? I mean, Alex talks a lot about bots with interviewing skills, and these are bots that are just trying to find, job leads. And it's an impossible situation. And I agree, LinkedIn should have a spam filter, but they don't.
They don't, yeah. And I mean, for whatever reason, I know it's that spaghetti on the wall, like you send 100 and one person responds, but 99 people have a bad experience. So it's just not worth it at the end of the day.
So
I'm
a little curious, yeah. You talked about how these are third-party products that are, or plugins, whatever, that are sending these out. So LinkedIn, I guess, has some sort of API interface that it either provides or sells to a company or an individual. And then what they're doing is they're writing code to facilitate these communications.
I'm pretty sure LinkedIn does not provide it, nor do they sell it. I think that these businesses are scraping it somehow. Again, I don't know what the back end technology is related to it, but LinkedIn is like really, I mean, they do not want you utilizing any third-party tool other than
one thing that LinkedIn, I'm sorry, one thing I think that they do is a lot of these tools, they get on as a plugin or an add-on, then the messages are sent out, and then they leave that plugin off the platform, because if it's off the platform, LinkedIn can't do anything. And so it's kind of like a one and done. Here it is, I'm going to send the messages out, and then I'm just going to go away, so that you can't catch me.
Yeah. So, and often a lot of these companies require the user to have Sales Navigator also. And so somebody is spending the money for that monthly subscription, which again, if you're doing sales or prospecting, Sales Navigator is amazing and is totally worth it every dime. But if you wouldn't necessarily need it, you're spending the money on that and whatever they're charging you monthly for the actual like stuff that's being sent out through your profile, and you're risking your profile that you could get restricted or removed from LinkedIn altogether.
And what tends to be the interest of the end game for these spoofers or spammers?
Lead? Right?
What is their goal?
Yeah. So they sent Rachel a paving contractor thing.
Right.
Are they legitimate? Are they trying to be legitimate organizations getting leads? Are they looking to shut down people's profiles like hackers?
I think a lot depends on the service. Again, most people just don't. They think of automation as an easy step to get business, and they rely on these third parties to do the work for them, and they don't necessarily care so much until they realize that they've been, reported to LinkedIn. And even then, I tell the joke all the time, but it's true. There was a small business that was in my town that was sending out job leads left and right, and they were actually working out of next door to my gas station here, and they were just a call center. And which brings me to the other thing. If you ever can get an address for someone or a phone number, look them up, because a lot of the times they have PO boxes. They don't have physical addresses. A couple of times I've actually done a Google search, and in addition to the profile, to see where they're located, and you find out, well, they're in this nondescript building, or they're just like a room in the back. I mean, this is taking it to the next level. Rachel and I are very into this. And I think we're into it because we want to teach best practices. I mean,
right.
Hopefully most of you don't. Yeah, I hope most of you don't get to that level, but it's just kind of spreading the word. I mean, LinkedIn is great, but you have to know how to use it. And networking is not just throwing stuff out there and just emailing things.
And to answer your question also, as far as what they're looking for, a lot of them they use the word leads. Like, we'll get you 100 leads a month, but what they define as a lead is what we would define as a target, right? A lead is not just anybody who could potentially buy your services. A lead is somebody who has an interest specifically in what you do because you started to build that rapport. So what they call a lead, I call a target. And I think that's where people get that picture, that number in their head of like, I'm going to get 100 leads a month. Like, I'm going to be closing business left and right. No, you're not.
100 leads might be 100 connection requests. Again, it's how do you define what a lead is? So you'll get 100 leads because you're going to get 100 connection requests sent out, or 100 emails. Those are not leads. Those are just.
Exactly. I think there was a question.
Yeah, there's one from Sam. Do we know if spam filtering is on the list of potential enhancements?
I
don't mean if it's on your list of enhancements. Is it on LinkedIn?
I've been begging for it. Is it on John Experience?
On John Experience list, and actually someone from LinkedIn Help reached out to me when I tagged them and said, we're going to inform the product team, which is a nice way of saying, don't hold your breath, or maybe. I mean, just to be realistic, because there are some things LinkedIn could do. And I think if you had the option and you paid more money to have them have a spam filter set up, I think most people consider that a good, valuable amount of money. But again, it really goes back to LinkedIn and what are they actually looking to accomplish by having everyone on the platform. I don't think they want it to be a wild, wild west, but I think it's something they have no, I don't say no control, but they just are trying to get a handle on.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a boss who used to say when an idea would come across in a meeting, she would be like, oh, what an interesting idea. So you basically got that from LinkedIn, the LinkedIn service team. Like, what an interesting idea. Thanks. No, thanks. It would be nice if there was a way to just immediately be able to click a button and report spam. So I don't know, maybe they'll surprise and delight us and add that in at some point.
Yep, well, we still have plenty of time, folks. If you have some curiosity about LinkedIn, and actually it's an opportunity to ask almost anything LinkedIn, because both Rachel and Ken are experts on LinkedIn. So if there's a how-to question, how do I fill in the blank, I'm sure they'll be very happy to answer any of those if you're curious about that.
How many people here have cover story? Or how many people even know what cover story is?
I'll see who raises their hands, I guess, in the images, or you can respond in chat.
I mean, that's a great tool right now.
Yeah, one hand went up and one person scratching their head, so I don't know.
So yeah, there's a bunch of new profile updates that have rolled out in the last 4 months since the
Yeah, I
end of
think
March.
so by now, yeah.
So, a couple of the like high level things that are new is, one, you can add your pronouns now, like officially to your profile. Before, a lot of people would add it in their name field. Now there's a separate field. If you go and edit, sort of, it's called the top card, like where your name is, you can add your pronouns. So that's a nice inclusive thing to do.
I'm actually going to share. I'm going to share the screen, if you will, just so you can kind of.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to go to, well, like this over here. If you see what happens, go to yours.
You won't be able to play your whole cover story the same way. So that's new too. That's the cover story, where you can add a 30-second little video talking about who you are, what you're all about. And for those of us that don't love video, it's a little bit of a stretch to make it happen.
Rachel, can I just play it so people can hear it? All right. So one thing that I really liked about this is you actually have you have words on there.
Her sound is not coming through, and it was an option when you shared your screen.
Okay, my bad.
So no worries.
Okay, so anyway, but if you look over there, what's also there right now, you have this over here that Rachel has the she, her next to it right now, which is an addition. You can have pronouns. This over here with which is part of creator mode, is your profile is switched a little bit, and you can add some hashtags there. And I believe also the featured section is moved up, and the activity now only shows things that you've shared, not everything. So if anyone has any specific questions about LinkedIn, I mean, we can go through a couple of things. Now, how much time do we have, David?
We easily have 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
You know, we can end early if there's no interest. There's one question from Kelly. Is Cover Story available to all, or is it in beta?
I think it's pretty widely available. So if you look on your
available to everyone, yes. If you go to your phone.
Yeah, you
go to your
phone.
Yeah. If you go to your phone and look at your profile picture, underneath your profile picture, in the right corner, you should see a plus sign. And if you have a plus sign there, that means you have Cover Story.
LinkedIn is known for deploying features in groups. They may not give it out to everybody at one time, but they kind of have a deployment schedule. So sometimes that does happen.
And also, this case, I think it's been rolled out to everyone just about.
Okay. And also there are features that they'll put on the mobile app that they don't put on the web app. And so sometimes that happens as well.
Well, that's why with the cover story, you can only record it on mobile on your phone, but then it will play on the desktop, and you can always update it any way you want to. I think what I'm interested in finding out is as we go back to in-person events, one thing that I really am going to like is the QR code, which you can use from your mobile to actually connect with people. I mean, that was something I started to do a while ago. So again,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there was a big rollout, like where, like I got those features at the end of March, the creator mode and cover story and all that stuff. And then it was like real slow. And then there was a big rollout about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I'm pretty sure it's pretty widely available.
I mean, I'll tell you why I think they did that. I think it was based on quarters. March was the end of the first quarter, and now we're coming to the end of the second quarter. So I think that they wanted to push it out in the first quarter to show it's out, and then the second quarter to push it out even more. I mean, LinkedIn is Microsoft, so I'm sure a lot of it has to do with that.
Exactly.
There is a question from Kathy, and this is like the golden ticket question. Well, I guess the golden ticket answer, if you can answer it. Do you have any insights into the algorithm LinkedIn uses in order for recruiters to find candidates? I.e. needs, frequent comments, etc. What else?
Can my experience, again, I don't work, I'm not as familiar on the recruiter and job seeker side, is that it's those keywords that are in your headline, your about section, and your skills that are going to pull you into searches for recruiters. Is that your?
Yeah, I would also say, you know, again, there's different levels of recruiter. There's recruiter light, and then there's something people purchase a recruiter seat, someone like Ed Hahn. So you want to make, in all cases, you want to make sure your profile has a lot of keywords in it. And every week you can check your dashboard to see if you're being, you know, searched for the right way. But that's only a small part of it, honestly. You know, again, LinkedIn doesn't ever share the algorithm because it always changes. I mean, video seems to be important now, as well as commenting and posting on content. But the best thing to do is to, from a job seeker perspective, there's 2 things I would do. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is maximized for all different keywords. And then also start looking for content to comment and post on. I mean, one little trick, and I know Abby Coach talked to me about it before, is you can do keyword searches and other things besides job title. Like if you do a search on I'm hiring or we're hiring or something like that, you're going to see all the people that have that in their title. And then you can break it down further by location. Doesn't mean they're hiring specifically for your industry, but it might be a connection. And these are all little nuances. I mean, as David knows and Alex knows, and all of us knows, we could talk LinkedIn forever and probably not even, you know, hit the surface. But, you know, let's say, go ahead.
Ken and Rachel, you mentioned a little earlier LinkedIn jail.
Yes.
And I want to tell you guys that is for real because I've been there. Luckily, I'm released. What happened? I'm on LinkedIn since 2004, I think September. And I remember about 1.5 years later, I heard that actually you can invite every day 200 people. And I did that 7 days a week. And I sent out 199, 200, something. I wanted to stay below 200. And out of those, every day, 60 or so people accepted it, and the others have not. However, evidently at one point I was reported, and you mentioned earlier, if you have 5 people that report you, then you go to LinkedIn jail. So I was in LinkedIn jail. Basically, I could not access my account. I remember then I started writing to people, whatever, and I told them from here on, I will be a good boy. I will never do that again. And somehow they put me back.
I remember that.
And that's called double secret probation.
But that's because, Alex, and again, the reasons they give don't make sense for everyone. I think in your case, they wanted you to change the title to just be your name and not other things. But LinkedIn, it comes down to if you're reported. You know, people do different things. And generally speaking, the only time I will ever report someone if it's a very blatant thing. Like I've been propositioned on LinkedIn, which to this day I don't understand what they see in me. But and the thing is, I've been propositioned by both sexes. So really, that to me is one of the things that to this day, it was a connection request, and afterwards, like I'd really like to get to know you better. It wasn't just the words, but you know, the big thing about LinkedIn is you don't know what if you're in LinkedIn jail. The best thing to do is to reach out to one of us or Kevin Turner or someone like that, because I think Kevin Turner actually knows someone at LinkedIn specifically. It happens to all of us, and the thing is, you don't know one day your profile's gone and you have no recourse, which is another reason to think about always backing up and downloading your stuff. But you take advantage of the fact that we all, I mean, we don't go to LinkedIn that much all the time, but we have, and that's what's good about Clubhouse and other places. We have access to people there. At least you may get an answer, or you may not get a real answer, but you may get, you know, Jeff Young had that. Remember, Jeff Young lost his was also a
Yeah, that's crazy. It is scary when that happens, for sure. And the thing that is frustrating about LinkedIn is they don't really always tell you what you did. And it would be the equivalent, you know, I have, when my kids were little, it would be like if the equivalent of like every time they misbehaved, I didn't tell them, I didn't correct them. I just, you know, punished them without them knowing what they were being punished for. Well, how are they supposed to improve their behavior? So you need to know what mistake you're making so that you don't do it again. I'm trying to get into the chat and I can't get to everybody because I wanted to share a couple links to websites for formatting, but I don't know what the
One of the options, it should be the first one, is send to everyone.
yes.
It's not, it's only giving me somebody's name. So I'm just gonna write test to that person.
When you open, it should be the upper left corner. If you're not seeing it, I don't know why. When you open chat and the whole list shows up.
It's at the bottom. It says send to everyone or send to someone else.
Yeah, it's not letting me do that. So I'm gonna just like respond to this person and see if maybe then it lets me do it. So,
or you can respond to 54 people. You know, I'll just, a couple of other things about Kathy's question. You mentioned keywords, which I agree is important. They have to be the keywords, not that you think are important, but that you understand people are going to use the search for you. So you may be putting these nice keywords of things you're good at, but if they're not important to other people, if recruiters aren't searching for those things, then it minimizes your opportunity to be found. An example is, you know, they said you're going to, I think Rachel has said, you know, they're going to search your headline. Well, if you have in your headline open for a new job, unless a recruiter is looking for someone open for a new job, you're not going to be coming up in their search result. So your headline should have keywords like, you know, marketing professional, digital marketing, or, you know, whatever your profession is. And the common phrases and terms that recruiters are going to use. If you're going to keep it very specific to you, it may be a little harder. And the other thing is you don't want to word stuff. Like you don't want to say, I'm a digital marketer who does digital marketing on digital marketing platforms, and I digital market to all digital marketers. LinkedIn, we understand, and Google, I know, doesn't like word stuffing. So really, you know, keep it in normal sentences and don't overdo it.
And think about also with the about section, you want your profile to reflect how you can help someone else and how can your past experience be relevant to the next position. You know, your resume is your past history, but it's like, okay, it's the what's in it for me, from a recruiter or a company. And think about it from that standpoint. Also, the first 2 or 3 lines are sometimes the only lines that you're going to see when you pull up someone's profile. So you want to get their attention there too. I mean, it's not just about searching, it's about getting their attention. And
yeah,
again,
that is a really good point. Highly encourage everybody to leave their about section with a hook, something compelling that's going to get somebody to click to read more. You know, leading with how many years of experience you have may not be that hook. Leading with something about you or something about the way you look at you know, your industry Like one person that I helped her with her profile who was in the dental field, she was in like dental sales. We led her about section with, I love the dentist. You read that right, and on from there. So that's going to get somebody to be like, well, who loves the dentist? Ken, I texted you 2 links of,
Yes.
I can't, things wrong with my chat. So because there was a question about formatting your about section. So there's the 2 links I sent Ken, if he can pop them in the chat. One is one where you can format some text.
Oh, you texted me on my phone, you mean?
Yeah, on your phone.
Oh, multitask.
So while Ken checks
But
his,
actually, one of those you put here is a really good one to get emoji. I mean, you might want to explain while I'm typing in what an emoji is.
Sure. So there's with your about section, again, because it's such a long amount of text, you have the option to write. It's important to break it up into different like chunks and use things like bullets, emojis. You know, you can use some different text formatting. You can't do it on LinkedIn. You have to use like an external website, like what Ken's going to pop in the chat, to take, you know, certain pieces of text and then you can bold them or italicize them in order for them to stand out a little bit. But Get Emoji is a really good website where you can just copy and paste emojis. I'm certainly not suggesting that tons of smiley faces all over your profile, but if there's certain emojis that relate to what you do, use them. I like to just use the symbols in the symbols section, check marks, different colored bullets, things like that to break up the text so that it's easy to read and it is sort of eye-catching. So that's a good website to bookmark for sure. And this other one from Donna, who has, this is very, very helpful, is a text format. You would type in the text and then you can get it bold italicized or underlined or something like that. So if you want to just pop a little bit of bold text into your profile, I wouldn't use it in your headline though, because I believe it's not indexed if you use it because it's Unicode, not correct.
Well, it's going to affect from the searching too, but the emoji is a great thing because it's another way to kind of show your personality. And you're more than just actually writing content. I have to get better at it, honestly. I'm very late to the game with emojis, but for sure.
so there's another question from Bill. Is there a recommended way to back up your profile?
Well, did you just write about this again, Rachel, how to download everything? Because you can download your connections and your profile, or you can save it to a PDF also.
Yes, so you can, a couple of things with your profile. I don't know what you get it as if you download it. Basically, in the settings on LinkedIn, the data download, you can basically get everything you've ever done on LinkedIn for the most part. I talk a lot about downloading your connections for multiple reasons. One is, like we talked about, if you ever end up in LinkedIn jail, you don't have those anymore. So you need to, you want a list of who you're connected to. You used to get email addresses in that list, and thankfully they took that function away because too many people, I think, were popping them into their email service providers. But if you download your connections, you get first and last name, company title, date connected.
And date connected is really important because I usually use that to parse out my connections after a while. I mean, I go back, I've been here for a long time. I have no idea why I connected with people in 2007, 2008.
But what is also good, not only just to have it so you have it as a backup, is that if you take the time to look through who you're connected to, you can really do some major prospecting there because, like Ken said, a lot of us have been on this platform for over a decade. I don't know who I connected to in 2010. I can't remember. But what if somebody I connected to in 2010 is now in a position where they could be either a potential client or referral source for me? I really need to know that. So being able to format it, I generally suggest like sorting it by whatever you use to prospect, whether that's company and then title or title then company. And then reviewing it in a spreadsheet is a whole lot easier than just like rolling through an endless list of people on LinkedIn. So that's one piece to really, that we definitely both highly recommend you download, but you can also download all your messages. You can download, there's all these different data sets that you can download from LinkedIn, and I believe they recently added all of your posts too. So it takes a little while to process it. I can share a link to.
I mean, that brings up a good point, because unfortunately, LinkedIn in the past, you can have your articles saved, but your posts aren't saved. So if you're writing a lot of posts, it's really hard to save them, which is why I always suggest, I bookmark a lot of my posts on a Google bookmark for easy reference, because like Rachel, we do the end of the year things, we want to go back to our top posts and all that. We may not remember what we wrote in the wintertime. So again, it's just another good best practice.
It's also funny to go back and see what your early posts were. I mean, I posted like, I actually did a post about posting, and it was like in the first 5 years I was on LinkedIn, I think I did a total of like 30 posts, something like that, you know, and now I post almost every day. But you do have access to a lot of your data. It's just, you know, a matter of sorting through it, and it doesn't always come through in a super easy format. Usually they all come out as like the CSV file. But
well, the other thing I would say that a lot of people have started to do is actually send message requests on LinkedIn as a phone message on your phone, and that's a very catchy thing to do. You know, to get someone to actually, you know, call up a 30 or 60 second connection request. It's another way for you to talk about yourself in addition to cover story.
yeah.
It's another question, just a couple left, I think. This is from Drew, and Drew, you may need to unmute yourself to clarify. There are many, many Kevin Turners on LinkedIn. Can you provide more specific info on him?
I put a link to his URL to his LinkedIn profile in the chat already.
Oh, great, thank you.
Kevin he is the man. He is like, he knows everything about LinkedIn as far as, you know, the technical aspects of it. He's always really up to date on whatever new things are happening. Another great person to follow in that same category. His name's John Espirian. He's out of the UK. Absolutely brilliant, wonderful, so smart, kind person. And he likes to do lots of experiments on LinkedIn. So he'll do tests, like he did a month of videos. He did a video every single day, or he'll do, you know, he picks something to focus on for the month and then reports on it, how it affects his reach or his profile views or something like that. So he always has great content to share as well. There's a lot of really smart, giving, kind, wonderful people who know a lot about LinkedIn.
And I want to just ask a follow-up. Again, it was to Kathy's question about the how recruiters find you. One thing that we know is very important is having what LinkedIn calls a 100% complete profile. And maybe if you could just spend a couple minutes talking about what that is and why that's important, because that's really what also helps you to be found.
Do you know what all the pieces are in that one? I mean, I imagine
it's the about section.
A headshot, you have to have a picture. I think it's a minimum of 50 connections.
50 connections. It's also, you have to have at least three recommendations, I believe.
I'm not sure.
I don't know if that's part of it. I'm going to get the criteria right now.
The skills part, you have to have at least 3 skills.
Yeah, that you do.
For sure. And you have to have listed experience. You can't just, you have to have, you know, a job or jobs. I mean, but
you have to have 3 jobs and 1 has to be current. In other words, no end date.
That's tough for people new to the young adults new to the workforce. But I actually have a poll happening up on LinkedIn right now about which is the saddest gray box on LinkedIn. Is it a profile photo that isn't there? Is it the sad gray rectangle when people aren't using the banner image? Or is it a company logo that doesn't exist? Because those are three such important pieces on a profile. And right now, profile photo is by the far and away the winner, but I highly, highly encourage everybody, if you don't have a banner image, meaning the rectangle that goes behind your profile photo, put something there. It is like an empty billboard. Put something, whether it is a picture that is, you know, significant, that is in line with whatever industry you're in, or you can create something that sort of speaks to who you are and what you do. It just makes your profile look complete. And I'm on a mission to say goodbye to sad gray boxes on LinkedIn.
I've actually pulled up some of the information. So a LinkedIn complete profile comes up, 100% complete profile comes up ahead of the profiles that are not 100% complete. So if someone puts in, you know, sales and marketing, and that's what they're looking for, and you're missing, let's say, a headshot or something else, you're not a 100% complete. The people that match and are 100% will come up higher, so you may get missed. So among the things, you need to have your industry, and location identified. So the geographic where you want to work or the profession. And LinkedIn provides guidance or information that you can pick. You can pick the ones that are in there, and that's what you should do. You need to have a current position and 2 past positions. And I guess you're right, young people may have a challenge, but you know, if they've worked summer jobs or, you know, if they're part-time at the retail store, that's fine. And a current position has no end date. So a current position isn't your most recent one, but the one you're currently working in. So you're going to have to be creative about that if you're currently not having a current position. You do need to have your education section filled in, but it doesn't matter what that is. If you're not a college graduate, if you only had some college, if you had high school only, put that information in. A profile picture is important, and Ken is right, 3 skills are needed and at least 50 connections. So you do have to make sure that you have all that to be the 100% complete profile.
I would also suggest that, you know, even within the groups, take turns looking at each other's profiles and see if the profile speaks to the type of position that you're looking for. Because sometimes another set of eyes, I'm guilty of this too, makes a big difference. You think it's portraying you one way, and someone else, even if they're just one of your friends, may look at it much differently. You know, we talk about that with role playing with video interviewing too. You know, you have a network here that would all, I'm sure, be willing to help. You know, we all help each other out.
Absolutely. And, you know, another good point with that is if there's certain skills that you want to be endorsed for, you know, ask your network here if they'll endorse you. Because according to another friend of ours who is a recruiter, recruiters really want to see, you know, a good number of endorsements on skills. So
recent endorsements also.
Yeah, so, you know, and a good way to get that started is just start endorsing people, and generally they respond in kind. So
yep.
And then also the last thing is, if you look at a job, some of the jobs have the top skills that are needed for the job. Make sure those are included amongst your skills on your profile. Don't assume that like if Microsoft Word is the top 10 skill and you assume that everyone knows how to do it, we'll still put it down. It doesn't hurt because it's one of their skills that they're looking for.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And I'm glad you brought that up. That's something I've seen on some people that I work with, and I'm like, do you really need to have Microsoft Word on your skills? But in that point, that's a great example of like why you would need it.
Mm-hmm. So I want to thank you both very much. There are no other questions that have come through right now. But folks, what we will do in just a few minutes, we will end the recording. We're going to just keep this meeting open, kind of our after party, if you will. And so Ken and Rachel, you're both welcome to stay around as long as you can. Maybe there are some questions that'll come up when we don't have the recording on. But I want to thank you both very much. I appreciate certainly Rachel coming up the digital highway from Atlanta. because I think your signal takes 1 millisecond longer to come because of the great distance you're traveling. So thank you so much for that. And also, both of you for wearing Hawaiian wear. Rachel is wearing a floral aloha shirt, and Ken is wearing his Black Sand Beach shirt, which is very appropriate for Hawaii. So great. Thank you very much for the aloha spirit. But certainly understanding how and why people are using bots to send LinkedIn messages really will help all of us to be using LinkedIn a lot better and allow us to be more effective when using LinkedIn for job search and hopefully avoiding those that are just going to waste our time. So this was a very important topic. LinkedIn, of course, is a tremendously valuable product, but tremendously big product as well. And it's great to hear lots and lots of information. And thank you so much to Rachel and Ken for sharing your contact information for people to reach out. You can do so, of course, through LinkedIn and through email. That information also is in the chat. We will be publishing the chat on our website. The upper right corner of every web page has a link called Meeting Presentation Documents. Just click there and you will see this presentation a little later today, the line item, and you click on that link and all the documents that are being provided by Rachel and Ken will be there as well as you can click on the link for our YouTube channel, and we will be posting that video, if not by this afternoon, by tomorrow morning, and you'll have that as well, so if you need a refresher. Just want to let you know what's coming up over the next couple of weeks. Next week is July 2nd. It is July 4th weekend, so we know some people may not be available, and that's fine. But I was lonely. I'm going to be available. So we're having the meeting, and it's going to be Friday, July 2nd at 10 o'clock. And I'm doing a presentation calling The Importance of Personal Branding for Offer Negotiation. So if you're interested in understanding why you should promote yourself and then how to use that to negotiate your offer, and also the different stages of talking about salary in the interview process, that's what we will be talking about next week. And so you're welcome to come next week, Friday morning at 10 o'clock. The following week, July 9th, John Corcoran will be here. He'll be back and talk about how to get your friends, family, and contacts to work for you in job search. And one thing I think is really important about that is we think our friends and family know all about us, and they don't. They know us personally, but they may not always think of us professionally when they're out and about themselves. They may not know enough about us. So he's going to be talking a bit about that. Thinking of my own situation, my father only knew that David was in something about IT. So I can never ask my father for job leads because he just wouldn't know what to do with it. Tried to explain, didn't really help, but I do let my friends and family know. And of course, other meetings and groups will be meeting still virtually. New Jersey Job Seekers meets virtually every Tuesday evening at 7:30, and the link is in our PSG LinkedIn group, and I'll post it again there. It's the same link week after week, so if you had it before, just use it again. PSG of Central New Jersey is psgcnj.biz, psgcnj.biz, Mondays at 10:30 in the morning. And PSG of Morris County, the PSG groups are both our cousin organizations. PSG of Morris County, psgmc.org, psgmc.org will meet Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning. And by the way, they open up PSG of Morris County, they actually open their meeting and microphone about 45 minutes or so early for their pre-party. So you're welcome to join them before 9:30 as well. So that is our meeting for today. I'm so glad that you were able to attend and hear this informative presentation. And thank you again so much both to Rachel and Ken for being friends of PSG of Mercer County and keeping us all well informed and how to use LinkedIn the best way we can. So everyone, just want to wish you a happy week, a good week. Hope to see you all one day real soon. I know Ken wants to see us virtually. I'd like to as well, but if we can't and we'll see each other virtually, that will be fine as well. And until next time, I'll simply say, bye, everybody.